Hi, and welcome to Gallery Theater Presents here on McMinnville Community Media. I'm your host, Walt Height, and of course, when you see my visage up here, you know we're going to be talking about theater. And today we're going to be talking about the next show that's at Gallery Theater, The Cottage. And with me today to talk about that are two members of the, I guess we'd call them the cast and crew. We have the director, Steve Cox, with us, and also we have one of the performers in The Cottage, Holly Spencer. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Walt.
Now, you, both of you have had considerable experience down at Gallery Theater over the past years. So I want to check in with that. Let's get a little bit of a history here, because I can't remember the last time you were even on this show, Holly. I think we need to get a little bit of a refresher course on your long and illustrious history at the theater.
Would you believe it's been a full year?
Right. So let's see. You were in. We had the One Acts last.
Yes, Trifles. I was in Trifles. In the summer.
That was a pretty fun project.
That was a long time coming. We waited a while to do that show, and it was such a great time. Something heavy to dig into. Mm-hmm. Before that, I did Harvey with you all. Right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did Harvey, and that was a lot of fun.
Comedy, yeah, it's fun to comedy, comedy, drama. That's kind of a cool pattern to go by, I think.
Well, your MO, I think, has been heavily leaning towards the drama side over the years.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe a little more drama than comedy in your
I think that's
playbook?
just kind of how it landed. But I've always thought of myself as more of a comedian type. Mm-hmm. Years past, there was a lot of comedy in there. So this is refreshing. Steve gave me an opportunity with Harvey to do something funny, and it felt really great to do that again. So here we are, going to do another romp.
Yeah. But let me see. Let me touch back on it to get your memory here working about some of the dramatic things that you were. Dining room? No, you weren't.
Dinner with friends.
Friends.
It's a D word. That was a lot of fun.
But you go back, a few years.
Yep, my first show was at 84. They did Annie, and to me at Gallery, I mean, I was 14 years old, a little too old to play an orphan, a little too young to play an adult, so I was a Boylan sister, they stuck me in there. But that audition, I mean, it felt like, to me, to a teenage girl, my first time, it felt like a Broadway thing, they had multiple callbacks, we were in the lobby. There were hundreds of kids auditioning for the roles. My dad did it with me. It was the first play he had ever done, and that started a whole Archie Bunker, Rodney Dangerous career for him at Gallery, doing a lot of comedies. I mean, it was a great time. And the night didn't stop for a long time.
You took a more than brief hiatus in New York.
I did. I went to college in Seattle and got my degree, and then did a lot of theater in Portland, moved to Manhattan, and right out of the gate I landed a national tour with the National Shakespeare Company. And so I toured as Lady Macbeth and Rosalind and As You Like It, and they would do it in rotation. Depending on what city wanted to see what show, we would pull that show out of our boxes and do it. And some towns wanted both shows. Some theaters were thousands and thousands of seats. No, well, that's an exaggeration, but huge, or outdoor. Some were a classroom. It really depended on where you were in that part of the country. That was a full year, so I was paying rent on my Manhattan apartment the whole time while I was on the road. Had no relationship with New York once I got off that tour.
It must be interesting doing a show outside. You never really know what's going to hit. I mean, I saw one time in Salem, there's an amphitheater in a park in Kaiser, and they did The Tempest out there. And it was indeed a tempest. Leaves are blowing onto the stage, and I thought there was a little bit of lightning in the background. So
perfect.
That was kind of that was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
But you're back now. But you've been back for a little while, and you have a family here in McMinnville.
Yes. Yeah. I raised my daughter and took a long break from theater. I tried to bring her into the theater as a baby, and it did not work. But I started doing, let's see, Steel Magnolias before I had her. Then Tennessee Williams Glass Menagerie, and that's the first one that I plopped her backstage, and she just got a thrill out of playing with the props and seeing what was behind the set, and that was a pretty magical experience for her.
And if memory serves, didn't she have her debut in your show a couple of years ago, Harvey?
Yes, the thankless role of the maid, like one line, 4 words. But what was really great, though, is that she was our prop master for the show. So she, helped us out as crew, and then the thankless role of the maid. I mean, it's hard to cast somebody for that role and say, yeah, we want you to commit to this show, but you've got one line, you're on stage for about 10 seconds, and do you mind showing up every weekend? So it really worked out great. And she did a good job.
I remember being in a production of Arsenic and Old Lace years ago, and there's a character who's at the very beginning, then gone. And after the first 3 minutes, you never see him again. And he wouldn't stick around for curtain call. He'd just come in, do his bit, and say, okay, see you later. No one's going to remember me anyway after this show's over. So he just, pack his things and head out. But Steve, let's turn this over to you. Now, you have done some directing and some performing on stage in the past few years at Gallery, but it seems that you've been leaning more towards the director's chair recently. Talk about some of how did you sort of work your way into doing the job as director down at the theater?
Well, so I started, I think the first play I was cast in was in like 2007, and I had a background in filmmaking and that kind of thing for years before that, and then and I would act in my own pieces. I had a sketch comedy show in Portland, for example, and I was cast, crew, writer, the whole thing, and so I had some time opened up for me, divorce, in 2007, and I tried out for a part in Death Trap and got this little part, and I just really loved it. And so I started doing, trying out for shows and being in shows occasionally. And I always wanted to, I directed, short films and my sketch comedy stuff, so I always thought it would be an interesting challenge to direct live theater. I did a few Readers Theater shows, one which was kind of multimedia where I shot video to go along with it, and so after I got comfortable with that, I was like, yeah, I think I'd like to do this. And so in 2016, I pitched Enchanted April, and they accepted it, and that turned out to be a really great show. And then I took some time off. Well, the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. And so there wasn't much going on. I acted in one show, kind of in there, and then they actually asked me to direct Harvey. I'm still not clear what the story was on that and why they needed a director, and I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And so that was great, great experience. So this time around, I found a show that I really liked and pitched it, and it got accepted. So
great.
So here we are.
So over the course of the past few years as you've been directing, have you felt that you've developed something of do you have a style, or have you developed any kind of a personal system? Tell me about your director style a little bit.
Well, I think for me, what I like to do is I like to begin the process by letting the actors sort of create the characters on their own and see where they go with it. So it's just a masterclass to watch Holly do this, and Harvey and the Cottage has been really fun and fascinating for me. I just get out of the way and let her take it, and then I might have a suggestion or two here or there. But I like to do that with the actors, and then as we start to go along, as they get more familiar with their lines and stuff, then start to mold it a little bit. And I usually have a vision for what I want it to look like. This one is very stylized, so I'm taking a more active role, I think, in character development and performance, because it's very stylized. It's very much an homage to like old Noël Coward type of shows, with a kind of modern spin on it. And so we've got to hit the beats correctly. I want every joke to land. I want the performances to be consistent. So I'll dig in and kind of give notes and say, let's try this, or let's make sure we don't bury that joke, or that
right.
kind of thing.
Talking to Steve Cox and Holly Spencer today about the Cottage, which is the next show up. Now, I have to confess that I'm not really familiar with this show, so perhaps you can enlighten me a little bit here on The Cottage. It's a comedy.
Yes.
Take it away. I want to hear about The Cottage.
Well, I was just doing the talking, so I think it's your turn.
But you found the darn thing.
Well, yes. Okay, so I'll give a little intro,
found
and then So The Cottage, it's only about 10 years old. It's a fairly recent show, and I think it debuted in 2013, so it's a little older than 10 years. It is definitely a comedy. It's sort of an homage to the old Noël Coward shows. It takes place in 1924 or something like that. So it's very much a period piece. Written by a woman playwright, and one of the things about it, besides the fact that it's very, very funny, is that it really does have a message to it too, which the best plays always do, even if it's a comedy. But it's it's very much about empowerment, in the sense that it sort of asks the questions: must a woman have a man in her life? And if so, is one enough? You know what I mean? And it's like, and is it even necessary? And can't a woman be her own person and not have to be, not have her identity be tied to the man in her life? So that's part of it. But then on the other hand, it's just kind of naughty fun too. Like, there's 6 cast members, or six characters in it. 5 of them are embroiled in affairs, intermixed with each other. One of them may be a mass murderer. Yeah, it's not a play.
It's a good comic element.
Yeah, it's not for kids. That's one of the things I kind of liked about it, is it's an adult show. And I think it's nice to have 1 or 2 of those a season, where it's pitched towards an adult sensibility, and it's not necessarily a family show, and it's something that adults can come to and laugh at, the sort of body humor, but also understand and appreciate the message.
You touch a little on the plot and your involvement, what's going on in this story, just a little bit. No spoilers.
That's what I'm afraid of. I don't want to give away a spoiler. There's just so many opportunities for bits in this. It's just funny all the way through. There's so much work to be done in this play. Yes, Sylvia is having an affair with her. I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah,
I'm serious. I don't want to give it away.
I think it really kind of unfolds piece by piece, so we probably shouldn't.
I'd say too much, and then
we can say affairs are had, and and everybody is guilty and deeply flawed.
Yeah. Who's the hero here? Everybody has a piece of this.
So I think I can safely reiterate the fact that this is a show probably catered to adult audiences. So perhaps leave your 10-year-old at home. We've probably all seen it. Shows where there's a lot going on that's of a mature adult nature, and there's little Johnny sitting in the front row who probably shouldn't be there. And how did they let him in this place? So think about that. Think about the fact that, yes, good comedy, mature audiences. Now you mentioned that you've got 6 people in the cast.
6 people.
Let's touch a little bit on who we've got in this show.
Okay, well, Holly, of course, plays Sylvia, who's kind of the lead character, the protagonist of this show. We have Ben Lapp as Clark. And he's been in 4 or 5 shows over the years.
Right, and he's a set builder extraordinaire.
Yes, yeah. And he has built this set with help from others. And we have John Hamilton as Richard. Well, I don't want to give much of that away either.
Be careful.
Yeah.
He's in there.
And John he's been in a lot of shows, and he's directed.
Yes.
Shows. I think he directed the Dickens.
Yeah, the Christmas Carol.
Swimming in the Shallows, he directed that after
Shallows.
with me.
Right.
So and he's doing, besides being a director, he's a very good comic actor, so he's doing good in that role. Erica Fox, who has she was in Harvey. She was the nurse in Harvey, and we acted together in See How They Run earlier this year. No, last year.
It's about
Yeah. It's
Time
sort of
flies.
lose track.
about a year ago.
So she plays Clark's wife.
Right. Pride and Prejudice. She was also in Pride.
Oh
and
yeah,
Prejudice.
she was.
Yes,
She was.
that's right.
Good memory, Walt.
And she's great. And we have Delaney Sump, who plays Deirdre, who is she's Richard's ex-wife. And she's doing great. I hadn't worked with her before. She was the first. She's the only cast member I didn't really know.
Has she been in a gallery show before?
I know she has, but I don't know what. I can't quite remember.
I'm not sure. I know she has as well.
Yeah.
Just not question.
But she's younger. She is just in her late 20s, but she's doing a fantastic job. And she just knocked me out in the audition. So
great.
She was one for that. And then Jared, all of a sudden I'm having trouble remembering.
Richard.
Jared Richards? Yeah, he's the manager of the theater. And,
oh, yes.
Yeah.
You know him?
Yeah.
That Jared.
Yes, I don't know why. I apologize, Jared. Sometimes I don't have last names. I only think of him as Beau because that's the character of his name. So it's a wonder I remembered his first name. But he's an experienced comic actor, and so he jumped in and took this role and is running with it and doing a great job. So.
It's sometimes difficult if you, for example, he's the manager of gallery theater, and when do you find time to actually get out there and trod the boards a little bit and have some fun? Yeah. And I know he's done stand-up as well, so he can think on his feet pretty good on the stage.
Yeah.
That's something that I am intensely jealous of, is someone who can just get up there and wing it on the stage. I mean, this is good. You've got a script, of course, but you know, things happen sometimes on stage where you've got to kind of think fast and maybe adjust for the moment. And nice to have someone like, you know, with Jared's abilities up there to perhaps step in and when necessary, if necessary.
Yes.
We have our opening scene together, and he's a hoot. He just rolls with whatever I throw at him, and we're just getting to the fun spot now where we're really finding the depths of these characters, and it's just a lot of fun to work with him. He's a hoot.
And have we left anyone out of the cast?
I don't think so. I think that was 6.
Just the garden.
Holly, yeah. Well, that's also a surprise. So we wanted to. Yeah, that's it.
So again, we're talking to Holly Spencer and Steve Cox about the Cottage. Now, do we have dates up there? So I'm going to prevail upon you to extract the dates of the show.
Parts of that I know. March the 14th.
Sure.
I think is when we Friday, March the 14th. I think is when we debut, and I know we run for 3 weekends. So it's those 3 weekends, and I think we're done before April starts, or right at the beginning of April. So.
Right. So March 14th. At Gallery Theater. We're going to be in the Black Box.
Yeah, in the arena.
In the Arena Theater. And I might remind audiences of a couple of things. Gallery Theater now ends their productions on a Sunday matinee. They didn't used to do that. I think it was an excellent choice to do this. And so you want to get, and you want to get tickets pretty soon, because Gallery has been enjoying a pretty good track record since we came out of COVID. People are swarming back to the theater to enjoy the live theater experience, and shows are selling out. And it's wonderful. I mean, we all had doom and gloom on our minds about 4 years ago, when we thought the world was coming to an end with this COVID crisis, and we've popped out of that. And I know that other theaters, Kaiser Homegrown, Pinnacle Theater, Struts and Frets, Theater in the Grove, Majestic and Carvalho's, Albany Civic Theater are all enjoying something of kind of a renaissance of popularity. And so get those tickets. And of course you can get the tickets online at gallerytheater.org, or you can call the box office, which is 503-472-2227, and order your tickets. So I want to get back to the show just a little bit. You said it's set in the 1920s. So let's talk just a little bit about costumes. You have a costumer, obviously.
Yes, Mary Smalley is doing the costumes for us, and yes, it takes place in the 20s. We're making it as 20s as we possibly can, and so the costumes are reflect that. And
are we kind of an F. Scott Fitzgerald mode of dress?
Yeah, the men are in period appropriate suits. Holly starts off in a lovely sort of evening negligee,
right?
Yeah. I think Beau starts out in just a fancy robe. So it's been a busy evening by the time we meet these two characters, and so but they dress later, and so and we've got. We're trying to get the hair right. There's a totally different set of styles there for the women. It's a challenge. I think finger waves were very popular.
Right.
So
Clara Beau.
Right.
Yeah.
And for
Lillian Gish.
Yeah. For the men, it's sort of a slicked back look. I think back in the day. Of course, that's an extra challenge because all three men are totally bald. So
I can see the challenge there.
And I told them when I cast the thing, I'm like, look, we're going to put you in wigs because in the 20s, if you were totally bald like that, you were in the circus. That's about it. Nobody was running around with their head shaved then, even though all three guys look great with their head shaved. It's just for this piece that just wasn't going to fly. So we're doing some stuff with hair. We're getting, in fact, for the set, we're making that period specific. I just got in the mail yesterday a gramophone.
Nice.
So it's got the big bell, and because
wow, good.
Yeah, at a certain time, at two different places, Sylvia puts a record on. So we'll have some 20s music will be part of the show.
Probably mostly in the public domain.
Definitely in the public domain, which is great because in the 20s, I mean, we're now past, I think it's 90 years, so I've got stuff coming in from the teens, and it's all in the public domain.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have to worry about that, which is really nice. It's harder when you have something set later. It's like, I can't, you can't use the music in the show unless you pay for it.
Right.
And that's expensive. So we don't have to worry about that with this one. So
that's great. Yeah, public domain music. Have you been personally selecting the music?
Yeah, I've been looking for some pieces that fit, and I think we've got some things in mind that'll be kind of set the mood. We'll have some of that music beforehand before we get started, and to kind of get people into that 20s vibe.
You bet.
So
So now we've talked about the cast and you and the others, and we know about our costumer Mary and set builder Ben. You have a crew that's with you. Who's helping you out with this?
Well, Carolyn McCloskey is helping me out as sort of assistant director / set decorator, which is great because I'm terrible with that. I don't, I have input on set design, how it should be built, but in terms of colors and curtains and, if you saw my house, you'd know. I have no facility with colors. And Bridger, and I'm Latin Hayes Latin or something. I'm sorry, Bridger. I'm terrible with last names.
You're close.
Yeah, he's.
I know you're close.
Yeah, he is our stage manager. So he's been there every night helping us. Helping with when people are forgetting their lines. And I think Olivia.
Olivia will help, my daughter.
Yeah. So we'd like to have her back again because she did such a great job in Harvey. And right now, I think that's all I have confirmed. I think I don't have, some directors at the gallery have a posse. There's like 6 or 7 people that always work on their shows, and they're like a tight-knit unit. I never developed a posse. So, I've carried over some actors from show to show. Some Harvey favorites are in this one, but I don't really have, a group of of people who are, just devoted to my shows.
Well, I think traditionally, the directors at our theater have been chief cook and bottle washer for just about every aspect of their production. And I know it's not so, like you said, there are theaters, one I'm pretty familiar with down south, at Pinnacle, where I wouldn't say it's an army, but there's an assistant director and maybe an assistant to the assistant, stage manager. There's no key grip or best boy or anything like that, but the stage manager, and so there's often nearly as many people backstage and on the crew as there are out on stage itself. So again, we're talking about The Cottage at Gallery Theater, which opens on March 14th. It's a comedy catered to more mature audiences. As we would say in a board meeting, anything for the good of the order here? Have I left anything out that we want to chat about?
I think we've hit it. We've covered it all. Let me just show you my nails real quick, right?
Look at the lovely.
See, I'm practicing. This is 1920s style. I did my research yesterday. It's called Half Moon. I know it's far away, but I thought definitely red was something that they would have done in the 20s, and it's true, but this moon shape is pretty unique, I think. Not something I would normally do. I'm a plain Jane, but I'm getting into character right now, Walt.
Hardly.
I'm working on it, and this helps.
Well, that's called attention to detail, which I have always loved. It's not necessarily something that an audience would notice right off the bat, but you notice it.
I do. I think about those things.
I think about those things all the time, and it's important to me to, have the right stuff up there.
I did the same thing with The Graduate. I the makeup colors, the style, what Mrs. Robinson could have put on her nails, and even the shape. It just helps me just to really dig into that character.
When we did See How They Run, I realized late in the production I was a policeman, and I needed a police whistle.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And I wanted a British police whistle, and I found one, and I'm like, and maybe
That's fun.
Nobody noticed that.
No, it's fun.
It's like the time I saw on a production of a play that took place in Europe, and there's a train in the background, and it sounds like the Denver and Rio Grande train whistle. That's not a European train whistle. Come on, they're different, right? And people don't always recognize that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, enough digressing on minutiae. Again, I'd like to thank both of you for being here and talking with me and to me today.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Right.
Absolutely.
And,
thanks.
So you'll want to see The Cottage starting March 14th at Gallery Theater. Get your tickets soon. And until that time, I'm Walt Height. I'll see you at the theater.